Perceptions with Lisa Efflandt and special guest today, Leroy Johnson Hembone. Lisa, introduce your guest and how are you today, by the way?
Good morning. I'm well, thank you. My guest is Ken Leroy, and he actually is a surprise guest. He just sat down. We're talking about instincts and intuition today, and every time I run into Kent, he has a woo-woo story, is what I call it. But we had to teach him what woo-woo meant this morning, so he's not quite all the way in the realm, but he's getting there. And I said, why don't you sit down and talk about this with us? So he's going to discuss it with us today. I'm going to get a few things out of the way first. You can reach me at lisaschangingperceptions.com. You can reach me at lisaschangingperceptions@gmail. You can find me on Facebook under Lisa's Changing Perceptions, or you can call or text to 262-573-7055. I am still doing groups out at the farm, and they're not only were full last week, which was my first group, but there is a waiting list. So if you have a teenager who is currently struggling with anxiety, depression, peer pressure issues, the changes that are going on with the e-schooling, and now even someone going back to school, that's causing a trauma because it's yet another change. Please feel free to contact Vanessa at Horses for Humanity in Wakanda and get on the waiting list for the group. I will be adding another group within the next week or two. I only allow 10 people in each group because once I get above 10 with teens, they stop talking. Again, we're just putting them in a new peer pressure situation, so I limit it to 10. The foundation does help cover some of the cost of that, so she makes it affordable. You can call and discuss that with her. Also, real quick, in case she watches the playback, I know she's sleeping right now, Pete said, is I want to thank Mary for coming last week, and Mary to know that many people talked about how brave she was for coming on the air and being so vulnerable and honest on the air, and it helped a lot more people than I think she realizes to hear and know that somebody is honest and truthful, that they're struggling with some things as well. On that note, I have found that people enjoy having a guest. So I am going to try scheduling more people so that they hear the one-on-one versus just me yapping. I am just heads up, don't know which week, Chef, but I'm just to give you pay attention to it, as I'm going to have, I'm attempting to have a recovering alcoholic to talk about what his path was and his struggles that went through, and when he came to me, why he came, and what he's found with that and the different things he's used, so that people who are maybe either considering recovery, considering quitting, or in recovery and struggling can hear another, aspect of the story. I also have a very wonderful friend in Colorado who is going to come on the air with me, who has a very interesting story in life and is truly the example of how you remain sunshine through difficult things, because she is the most happy and positive person you could ever meet. And I have another person who is struggling with a chronic disease disorder and the different things that she's gone through mentally, emotionally, and the different things that she's used to get that. So just kind of a heads up to the different things that we're going to be having on the air. If you have a story or if you have a situation that you feel you'd like to come and discuss on the air, you'd like some advice or ideas of how to cope with that, and you'd like to talk to me about it, please feel free to contact Pete at 216-THE-NET or contact me directly and talk to me about what's going on and be a guest on the air. People do appreciate knowing that they're not alone in their situations, and just about everybody's story kind of helps everybody.
And by the way, Wendy Munson, who happens to be my mom,
hi, Mom,
says, love you. You're her, actually, you are her favorite host and show on this station.
Aw.
And that's saying something because, I have my own show. I'm her son. But she always tunes in. No, she's not talking about you either. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for that, Kent. She absolutely loves your show.
Oh, thank you.
She always gets something out of it, she says.
Thank you very much. Well, I hope you will today because Leroy's here. So we'll see what we get out of it today. So we're going to talk about instincts and intuition today. Instincts and intuition, for those of you who wonder what that is, it's that little gut feeling or that little voice in your head, not the one that tells you bad things, but the one that kind of guides you what to do. My experience has been that when spirit wants to push us down a certain path or in a certain direction, they will at first whisper. And you'll get that little idea, that's an interesting idea. And then when we ignore it, because our egos are bigger than that usually, most of us anyway, our egos are bigger than that, then they'll give us a little shoulder nudge. Hey, try to get your attention. feeling comes back a little bit stronger, thought comes more often. And then when we ignore that, because many of us, stubborn German girl, many of us, ego is still bigger than that. No, we don't want to. The little kid in us saying, no, 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 I don't like change. I don't want change. I'm not going to do it. So then they give us a push. And for those of us who are still stubborn, I usually get around the push, but sometimes they will just flat out knock your ass down and tell you how it is. And I've heard that's my story of it, but I'll give you an example of that. As I do know somebody, actually, when we were talking about alcoholism, I do know somebody who they got arrested one night, and that was the night sitting in jail was their moment of reality. And they never drink again. They never drink again after 30 years. Just never drink again. Because being in a cell, the confinement, the claustrophobia of it, the loss of freedom, that was a lot for them. So they never drink again. And so when I talked to him, I said, that's really interesting. So can you tell me in truth, like over a couple years prior, or time prior, do you remember having like an inkling that you had a problem? Yeah, now and then. If you thought about it, were there incidences that kind of were nudging you towards you should be doing this? Yeah, now that you say that. And it's kind of like, but the ego and the child in us and, all the different things in us that kick and scream, say, no, 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 I'm not going to. So finally, when you are meant for something or to do something, they will push you to the extreme that is your extreme. And people say, well, they keep punishing me. Do they? Because that's why I had that conversation with this person. Or was it that we ignored the whisper and the shoulder tap and the little nudge because we knew better, or we didn't want to, or we were afraid, or we were whatever?
Well, a lot of us, right, were raised in church, right? So that it's just a coincidence,
right?
Or no, what they like to say, it's a God instance, right?
Right.
So is that why we don't listen? Is because of
for some people, some people expect that when it's God or spirit talking to them, that it's going to be this big booming voice that comes through. That would make things a hell of a lot easier. Yeah. But that's not really how it is.
Somebody with a name tag.
Yeah. And the end sign above them with an arrow. Hello, I am speaking for God. And yeah, that's not usually the case. But the interesting part is that a lot of times people then look back at missing it as regret, like missing the whisper or the shoulder nudge, the however you got it. And they had to wait until they kind of got their ass kicked. And I've had that often because I am a very bullheaded, stubborn girl. But the truth is when you also reflect back on that, part of missing it and learning that you missed it teaches you how to not do that again. So it's actually a blessing. And I am one that believes that we can find a blessing in absolutely anything that happens to us in life. So not that I don't get angry and I don't run around saying, rainbows and bunnies and happiness all the time. But I do believe that when we look back at things, if we really kind of step back out of it, we can find, I see the blessing. I see what I got out of it. But many of us don't follow our instincts and intuitions because, number one, we don't trust ourselves. There's a confidence issue there with that. It's just like when I speak to spirit or when spirit speaks to me, sometimes it's really clear. And sometimes I'm like, is that them? Is that me? Is that my thought? Because I have a hard time now because it's funny. A lot of the people that I read for or that have read for me, because I know a lot of medium friends, we end up being friends because I get along with people. All personality types, all ways of life. Like I just find people interesting. And I end up being friends with them. Well, then it's really hard to get a reading from somebody that knows you or to give a reading for somebody that you know really well because your own mind and your own conscious thoughts come into play. So there's a trusting what you see, what you feel, and being honest with yourself thing too. But sometimes the little things are what matters. And that's why I want you to say just something as simple as what happened with your son. I mean, thank God everything turned out okay, right. But that little instinct thing is kind of what brought this on. And going, you know what? So you don't have regret over it. Thank God everything turned out okay. But now you'll know in the future, when I get that feeling, I'm gonna follow it. I'm gonna do it. So go ahead and tell what happened.
So, and we talked about this in the green room, but the interesting thing was probably on Tuesday or Wednesday, I got I was like, I should call Spence. That's my son, right? So I should call Spence and see how he's doing this down in Florida. He's in the Navy. And I didn't. Right, I had all the time in the world to, and I didn't. And then Thursday evening, kind of the same thing. And then I was like, man, they're an hour ahead. It's 9:30, 10:30 there. Nah, no, I'm not going to. And then Friday he called, and he and his girlfriend were in an auto accident on the freeway down, on their way to Universal Studios. He called right away, after about an hour of sitting on the side of the highway. and just, he said, hey, everything's fine. My car is pretty messed up. We're not hurt. But, I thought you should know. And I was like,
why didn't I follow my gut?
Yeah.
Right.
And I did. I played it off. I made an excuse not to on Thursday, but on Wednesday, I'm like, it's just your dad. You're his dad. You're just, he's thinking about you and whatever. And so, but then when he called, when I on my cell phone, his face pops up, and I'm like, boom, my heart's like, oh shit, and because
So thank God it turned out okay.
Yeah.
But what was your first instinct when you got that phone call? Like when you hung up and you realized that you had gotten that feeling a few days before?
Yeah, well, I was kind of mad at myself, right? At first, not like sad, but I was like, oh, that's why I wanted to read, and I guess the question was, is that why I wanted to reach out to you? And then you sit there, I do anyway, and I go, what would I have told them to make sure that didn't happen? Right?
You wouldn't necessarily. It's not always meant to prevent something from happening, but my personal experience and belief would be as they were teaching you something because it was so distinctive that you realized the connection between those two things. Because what if something would have happened?
Yeah.
Then you didn't make that phone call. So my experience would say that was them trying to teach you into the woo-woo. They're starting to push you into the woo-woo and that connection of those two things. So they had to go. More than likely, that's happened a lot more recently than usual.
Yeah.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
And then, so they weren't really getting your attention. So they had to go, okay, what gets his attention? He's a good dad. He loves his kids. Let's get his attention with his kids. Now, they didn't harm your son. Nothing tragic came out of it. But what got your attention is, holy crap, what if he wouldn't have been okay in the accident? And you didn't make that phone call that something was whispering for you to make that phone call.
Yeah, I would have been miserable the rest of my life.
Right. So that to me, you're getting blended into the woo-woo. And those things, as we acknowledge them, I hate to tell you, begin to grow stronger and more frequent. And then when we get comfortable with one, I love it when people say this when they start learning. They go, oh my God, I've learned and I feel so comfortable with it now. I'm like, yeah, then some news comes.
Hold up.
That's just chapter 1.
Just as soon as you think, oh, I got this, boom.
Exactly.
And they lay something in front of your face that you're like, no, thank you.
And normally, in my experience, not normally, I shouldn't say, but in my experience, that also means that they're preparing you for a major life change. That you will need your instincts and your intuition more than you've ever needed them before. And also that you would be in a state of your life right now that you are more open to it probably than you've ever been before. So it's a timing thing. It has to do with life charts, which we talked about on the air before. But yeah, they're going to gear you up, and that was to get your attention. And I love it when people say that. So they'd harm his kid to get his attention? Shut up. No, they did not harm his child, first off. And more than likely, your son, if he reflects on that situation, there's something about it that taught him something as well. Normally, it's not just one thing that happens for one person. And then people want me to explain that. I can't.
Right.
I don't think that the human mind can possibly comprehend the big picture of the world. You talked about religion, I say spirit, but I do believe that there's a big universal picture, and there's a purpose for everything that happens. Everything does have a reason for it happening, even when we think it sucks. So yeah, I'm gonna say that in about three or 4 months, we're gonna chat again, and you're gonna be like, well, holy crap. Or else I'm gonna be getting phone calls before that. Why is this happening? Why is this
holy crap?
It can be. It can be, because I have a lot of people that say, I wish I could do what you do, meaning the woo-woo. And I laugh and I say, yeah, there's some amazing things, and I've truly seen miracles, truly genuine miracles I've seen. But you have to remember that the universe has balance. So
why do
we
why
have
do
to
we
keep the
ignore
balance.
it? I mean,
It depends. I always say if you want the truth about the universe as a toddler, ask a 2, 3, 4-year-old, because at those ages we don't talk them out of it. It's still okay to be imaginary. It's still okay to talk stories or to talk to people who other people can't see and they call it your imaginary friend. And it's still okay to do all those things. So they'll tell you the truth, and they haven't been told different. They haven't been told they're too old. They haven't been told that's not true. They haven't been told not to do those things. So if you really want the truth, the answer to that question is ask the toddler. The majority of the time we're talked out of it. So, I mean, when kids have an imaginary friend or whatever, so maybe it is really imaginary and maybe it's, Uncle Joe. We don't know.
Sure.
Okay. But what do we say by the time they hit about 6, 7, 8? Oh, stop it. You're getting too old for that now, So we're kind of convinced and talked out of it. And then I remember when I was a kid, and my family was not a family that was into the woo-woo at all. I grew up in a military base. This just wasn't the woo-woo stage. And I remember laying in bed and I saw these things in the hallway and I knew they were there and I was horrified. But for some reason, they wouldn't cross my door border. And I'd lay in bed real stiff, like thinking that they might think I'm asleep. And I was little. And I found later I was working out of a metaphysical store that used to be in Richmond. And I'm flipping through this book that she has of elemental things. So I'm like, oh, what are those? And they're called brownies. It's an actual elemental thing. I didn't know that, but that's what I saw when I was younger. And I mean, I couldn't come out of my room and say, Mom, Dad, there's little gremlin-y looking guys, hairy gremlin-y looking guys standing in the hallway at night staring at me. And if I had, what would they have said? Oh, it's just your imagination, go to sleep. So that's why I think we don't follow it, because there was a time when we knew the connection between all these things, and then we're society-based, taught to grow out of it.
Right.
And depending on what our households are like and what the backgrounds of our households are like is what age we're taught to grow out of it. My youngest girl is literally a mini me. You couldn't get more mini me than her, truly. And I didn't talk her out of it. So it's really interesting to see the difference with her and the things that she has said growing up. But my older one was never really like that. As a matter of fact, I don't think my older one listens. She works on Sunday. But when I first started developing all the woo-woo stuff, she was little, but she would walk into the room and she knew I was talking to somebody do this. Because she was sure like something bad was about to happen because Mom's doing that thing.
And that's funny because Cody, who's become Catholic, and he came in and you guys met Emily. She was actually here last week. Well, when we first got her, he had been learning several things in Latin because he and his new wife go to a Roman Catholic church.
Such a lively language.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. And so every time he would come into the room, he would start spewing something in Latin. I can't do it.
Right.
But because of Emily, you see Emily, and then he can start saying it. And I so wish someone else could hear this thing other than me, because she was just laughing. She was cracking up. The doll, Emily, yeah. So
yeah, that is not a gift or ability I have obtained at this point where I can touch things and read it. Because I've had people bring in for readings like to hold something. It's not my, I could make up something cool, but the truth is that's just not one of my gift or abilities at this time. But those are the types of things that talk us out of it, because I mean, it's your son, so you're comfortable and you're like, whatever, but somebody else who's not as confident with it, would feel chastised or be concerned about being chastised about it. So it's easier to just not say anything and face it. If we push something back enough, we can kind of dismiss it. We can learn to dismiss it. So we learn to dismiss the instincts.
And that was my goal, was to dismiss this stuff for a very large part of my life. And now I can't keep it out. It's my mental window, whatever you want to call it. I've always referred to it as the window is stuck. I can't get it down any lower. I used to be able to shut it completely, and now I can't.
There's an argument about that amongst the woo-woo of us. I do not believe that if it's truly part of our path that we're heading towards, or gets us to where we're supposed to go, that we have that option. I mean, over the time, we'll end up discussing different things, but there's been a large part of the woo-woo that has caused a lot of stress and struggle in my life. My mother has broke down many times and said, make it just stop. And I kind of laugh. I've tried before. I walked around waving the finger at them, saying, leave me be. I literally walked around my house. I'm not going to do it. Leave me alone. I've had it. But the truth is if it's part of who, or at least my truth is, if it's part of who we are, genuinely who we are, the core of who we are, and it's part of our path that we're headed towards, it's happening. Some people have said I gave that up years ago, but your instincts is part of that. And that's what people don't realize is your woo-woo, because my belief is that like your instinct that said make that call. There's a part of your essence, your spirit. Do you believe you have a spirit?
Yeah.
Okay. So part of your spirit is still up there. So in other words, there's a piece or an aspect of it. It's called your higher self. That's what that gut instinct is. That's the part of you that does see the whole picture and gets to have that. Says, hey, warning, Will Robinson, pay attention here. And it's that gut instinct. So if there's a stage in your life, like your higher self knows what's coming in your future. It knows where everything's going to be blessed and it knows where everything's going to be difficult. And it's going to try and guide you as easily as possible. Okay. Your human self, ego-minded human self, human mind, conscious mind, is going to balk at that sometimes because it's not what your norm is. It's not where you feel your ego decided you needed to be or that you needed to do. So they guide us as we go. Through the description of what we talked about, the feeling that I got when you said it, I think they're starting to blossom you is what I would refer to it, blossom the lotus flower kind of thing, into more woo-woo. So they needed to get your attention in a way because they were doing it a little bit ahead of time and you were just kind of going, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. So they went, okay, you got the shove. You didn't get the knock to the ground, okay, because your son's great, everything you're good, okay. But you got the shove and you went, hey, there's a connection here because that's kind of real. And so you're going to blossom into more woo-woo, but that's your higher self going, listen, if you want to be where you want to go, you've got to go like this. You need to do these things. These are part of your opening. So is there something that you do? I know the answer to this already. Something that you do in your life that when you do it, it just completely resonates with you, that it's you.
Yeah.
It raises your vibration. No matter how bad of a mood you're in or no matter how bad everything's going, when you do this, the rest of the world waits.
Yeah.
This and it's truly your essence and you leave in a totally different energy.
Yeah.
What would that be?
Actually, this radio station.
Right. So those instincts that they're trying to guide you and bloom the lotus flower, in my life experience would say, to get you to your dream, if that's truly what your core pulls you to, okay, we need to open up those instincts. You're going to need those intuitions. You're going to need those instincts. You're going to need those feelings to know and how to trust them and decipher them and filter them so that, excuse me, as this path unfolds, you're confident with what you're getting, what you're feeling, and what's right or wrong. Because more than likely, there will be times when you go, this seems like a really stupid move, but something tells me I need to do this. And then you're going to have that confidence in learning that filtering to be able to do that.
So I'll give you a little background on this. Right? My dad is a Lutheran, a retired Lutheran minister. My oldest brother is a Lutheran minister. I'm an ordained deacon in the Episcopal Church. Right? I've left that. It's a whole different story. Right? But
I'm an ordained minister too. Cost me $39.95.
That's right. But the interesting thing is, the way that I have interpreted Scripture is we're all created, in the image of God, and that people have the gift. I mean, there are seers. That says it right in His Word, right? So I have been the one through my whole life to never shun away from that. I've always, I'm like, that's interesting. Whether it's energy from the universe, I don't know how to explain it. But just this past week, and I was sharing this with Pete, was I had a conversation with a lady, a realtor, and because I do mortgages from 9 to 5, and we were just kind of getting to know each other. She's a new realtor, and I was was letting her know about, 21-6. And she was, man, you are passionate about that. It just comes out of you. So for you to bring that up now, I'm like,
This is a piece of your assets. And life guides us there. If you recall, what made you do this? What made you start the station?
We really wanted to put something out there that was positive. There's so much yuck in the world. We wanted something to not be yuck in the
But
world.
what made you choose radio? There's a lot of ways to do that.
Had an opportunity, I guess.
That kind of got presented right in front of you.
Yeah.
It literally like, here's the silver platter. Would
Literally.
you like to carry the platter?
Yep.
And then when you took the silver platter and went, hey, I think I'll look at this stuff. The stuff's on here is kind of interesting. I think I'll go ahead and go for it. Did it kind of roll and flow very easily?
Yes.
That's how we know it's our life path. That's how we know it's part of our destination to where to go. When we have to keep bucking and kicking and screaming, which I realize that, the station, we'd like to have it grow, granted, but when we have the process of setting it up, the process of getting the ball rolling, the process of that movement, when that flows easily and slowly, passion, we can go, we believe in it, it's rolling, there's not a lot of obstacles. That's the universe's way of going, good job, follow that. Now I'm getting goosebumps. So somebody in this room needs to hear that because I'm getting goosebumps. Now that's their way of telling me you're onto something, keep going. So when it flows like that, now when we have to buck, kicking and screaming, now there's a difference between bucking, kicking and screaming and it being difficult, okay? Because although you guys love this, it's been a difficult ride. There's been some times where it's been tough. That's not what I mean. I mean when every single thing you try to do to set it up and to move along that is an obstacle. You got to step back and say, is this really where I'm supposed to be headed and what I'm supposed to be doing? Because something's trying to stop you at some point and maybe not totally take you away from that, but maybe lead you in a different direction. Something's trying to show you there's a different way. And just stepping back and asking, and here's the truth. And I beg people to try this because I tell everybody, when I tell you weird stuff, the worst thing that can happen is nothing if you try it. Truly, I don't tell you anything that's detrimental. So when you step back and you go, you know what, am I following the right path? Is there a reason for all these obstacles? Just ask, please show me, guide me. Please show me, guide me. That's simple as that. But then trust your instincts and your intuition when you see things that occur, when you see things around you happening, when you see signs and signals. That's the way they're going to kind of guide you and let you know. Sometimes it's fun. Like I have a friend who's a friend of mine since, junior high school. And he doesn't believe, he's a biker, and he doesn't believe in the woo-woo necessarily, but he doesn't condemn me for it. And he'll go, don't talk your lotions and potions stuff around me. And it's kind of funny. And that's what I always say, insert lotions and potion stuff. And it was funny because what he didn't know until recently was after my husband passed away, interestingly enough, this person actually was my boyfriend in junior high school. And my husband and him were friends, so he ended up being a groomsman at my wedding as well. But
you've got a very small circle.
No, I have a really big circle, but I've kept friends. Yeah, I've got friends from when I was 9 years old. No, I have a very big circle. I had 2 ex-boyfriends as groomsmen in my wedding because my husband liked them too. And I'm still friends with both of them. So, but after my husband died, well, it's funny. My boyfriend knows them and likes them too. So, yeah, I have fun friends. But after my husband died, I was very blessed that people kind of swooped in around me. Again, a spirit blessing because some of them I hadn't seen in years and others I did. But they kind of swooped in and engulfed me in this little bubble of protection. And I went and got my motorcycle license and then I went on rides with these bikers and had fun with these people I've known forever kind of thing. And he was I called him my rent-a-date. Whenever there was somewhere to go and I really just didn't want to go alone, it was new to me. I've been with my husband from 18 to 45. So this was all new. I would call him and go, I have to go to such and such. Do you mind? He'd go, okay, what time do I need to be ready and what do I need to wear? And he was fabulous, absolutely wonderful. They'd take me everywhere. On Friday nights, he'd go, let me take you to dinner. He always made sure I had something to do on the weekend. Like, he was very kind. And one day he came over, we were going to go riding. And he came over and he said, what are we going to do? And I said, we're going to go. Now, he lived in Trevor and I lived in Twin Lakes. And I said, we're going to go to Bootleggers for lunch. He said, why the hell are we going that way? I thought we were going north. And I said, I don't know. Because before he got there, I heard you have to go to Bootleggers for lunch. And I said, I don't know. And he goes, we're going 30 minutes the opposite direction. We're going north. I said, it doesn't matter. We're going to Bootleggers for lunch. Jesus Christ. And he gets it. Like, so we go there, and I still don't know why we're going there for lunch. And we walk in, and the bartender, whose name is Chrissy, hey, how are you? And I'm like, yeah, how are you? We're just here for lunch. Blah, blah. He's like, I don't know why we drove all the way down here. He's still complaining, right? He's never been there before. He's still complaining. Go away. And all of a sudden, I notice those two make eye contact. Huh. That's interesting. Now, he was widowed, too, so he kind of got, like, the whole thing. That's why he spent so much time with me. But he got up to go to the bathroom, and I looked and I said, what do you think of that guy? Do you ever go with that guy? She goes, I don't know. He's kind of cute. He's with you. He's probably a decent guy. I'm like, he's a great guy. I've known him for 40 years. Great guy. She's like, oh, okay. Left it be. So he goes back, and lunch comes, and she goes to the other end of the bar, which is a really long bar in there. And I said, hey, what do you think of that waitress or the bartender there? And he leans over, of course, to check her out, because that's a guy thing. Yeah. And he goes, oh, she's kind of cute. Why? What are you thinking? I said, I don't know. And I left it be. And we had lunch and we left. And I thought that was really interesting, that chemistry there, because there was hardly anybody in there either. So we go riding and then go home. And I'm like, okay, I'll see you later. And about an hour later, I get a phone call. Hey, I want to take you to Bootleggers for dinner. Oh, I know somebody who was interested in her. I will tell you, they were married last year.
Is that right?
Yes. And I only recently at his wedding, because he tells everybody the story of the fact that I introduced them. But because of his lotion and motion stuff, I never told him the whole true story, right, because he doesn't. And I don't know what made me. Something in my gut knew you're going to Boots for lunch. Period. You guys are going. Did I know why? No. And part of that to me is faith. See, people say, what's your faith? Trust in that weird thing that says you're supposed to do this when you don't really know what the outcome is going to be or why. That's why I think a lot of us miss our things, because we want change and we want those good things in our lives, but we only want it when we know what the outcome is going to be. We only want to take the risk when we know the reward is waiting.
Sure.
We don't want to take the risk without knowing the answer to that. So yeah, they were married last year. And that night, we went there. We did end up going there for dinner, and I kept getting free meals out of this, so we're good, right? And they became inseparable, absolutely inseparable from that moment on. And yeah, they were married last year. Funny enough, they got married at that bar. Like they had a big outside venue kind of thing, and they were married at the bar. So that again, it's an instinct. There was just something about it. And I had to confront somebody who doesn't believe in it. So now I got to wedge my way through. Why are we doing this? Because he's going to be mad we're going that direction. Like whole thing. But it was meant to be. Somebody up there went, hey, this is the opportunity and this is his time. And, this is the situation. And it happens. It happens. And it flowed very easily. It flowed very easily for the two of them. Like literally they were inseparable. The next day, I guess he got a hold of her and they went out again, and that was it. They've been together ever since. So what made me do it? Call it whatever you choose. But I had no reason that day to insist upon going there other than something said, you need to. Something said, go do this. And there were stories with my husband too, but I think you have a story.
Well, no, I was just this morning, for the last several weeks, I've been being nudged and pushed to do something with the station. And then this morning I said, well, let me get up early. I'll go in and bring Pete some coffee.
Which is awesome.
And then I started working and I go, huh. Right? Because what I stumbled across could really help.
The station. And something in your gut said, I think I should go do this.
For the last 2 weeks. For the last 2 weeks. And there have been time, I do a lot of the work, in the evening or early in the morning. And, you fight it. You're like, no, I'm just going to sit here and watch TV and be a turd for the rest of the night, where I could just sit with the laptop and actually work and be a turd.
I feel you, because actually I've told Pete this many times. I have a book that I have been working on for like 10 years. And I've written it, rewritten it over and over and over again. And there's even a part of me that knows it's a huge part of the next step. Because my big goal is winning the public speak. I'd love to go into auditoriums full of people who think they're screwed, basically, and go, you know what, you're not. Let's step back and look at things this way. You know, you're not. You have every
Political
opportunity.
debate you want to be I'm sorry.
President Lisa.
And I know that the book has a lot to do with that, but I am afraid of, this is what people don't understand. I am as afraid of success as I am of failure. And there's a weird niche that I'm trying to push past that hurdle right now. And every now and then they push me to do it. And then I get some of it done. And then they give me like a little break because it's a real hurdle. That's why people are like, oh my God, how do you understand? I do understand because I have my own issues. But yes, I'm as afraid of success as I am of failure.
So when I was a kid, young, we lived out on a 100-acre farm in Michigan, and we had this big fireplace, a farmhouse fireplace, and the hearth, was up 8, 10 inches or whatever. It's not like they are today, just at floor level. They were up. And my mom, we've got pictures of this. I had this beautiful it was in the 70s, this beautiful checkered suit, right? Black and white checkered suit. And I would put that on with, a turtleneck or something and get up on that hearth with a microphone. And she goes, you would entertain people. And it was just me.
The checkered suit alone wasn't the entertainment
Yeah,
you're looking for.
Yeah, sometimes I'd put a beret on. So even at a young age, there was always
Something in you knew.
Yeah, and I always thought it was, be the next Anthony, motivational speaker guy or whatever. But that's now as I'm living into this, it's like, microphone in front of me several days out of the week now.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right. We roll into where we're going.
1.8 million listeners. So you're starting to go, and maybe it's not that I need to be in the stadiums filling seats.
No,
Maybe
Sorry,
people-
I didn't turn that on.
Maybe people need you in their living rooms. Maybe
Yeah.
you're their inspiration in their living rooms, and we don't have to have, that kind of, we can make a difference without being famous. We can, the money is always nice, granted, but there's always a calling. And that's actually a great example because something in your spirit, the core of who you are, knew when you were young, there's something about this, there's something about this, there's something about this that makes me comfortable. There's something about this that makes me happy. And your life didn't go that direction. We talked about this with the piano. Like, there's maybe something else you can do with that. And I'll tell you, I did write one book. It's a very amateur book. I admit that openly. It's basically my emotions puked out on paper. It doesn't even have chapters. It's literally just
Word bomb.
Yeah. It's called The Girl I Met. And it was a time in my life when I was very, very depressed. I was even suicidal. And I wrote about it in the true form of confusion. And it's very honest. And my clients have read it and they'll go, oh my God, I had to stop reading it at such and such because it hit me. Or, oh my God, I cried when this happened. It's literally unprofessional truth puked into a book. And my reason for saying that is when I was sitting there and I was crying and telling Spirit, I'm done. I'm tired. I'm done. After my husband died, my whole life changed. I mean, in a way that was, you can't even, we couldn't get it all in one episode. And I said, I'm done. I'm tired. I'm not prepared for this. I can't do this. I'm not strong enough for this. I can't take on what you're putting in front of me. And as I sat there, they said, and I heard out loud, what do you mean you've been preparing for this your whole life? And they showed and I went, holy shit, I've been preparing for this my whole life. And it was very true. And at one point on the show, we'll get into what all that kind of means, but it was very true that something, and it's what instilled my belief in life charts, because when they put it to me in a lined up form, it really was, oh my God, I've been preparing for this my whole life. Put on your big girl panties and suck it up. You're going to do this, But the reason that people, oh, you do what you do, you shouldn't tell people you ever got there. BS. I'm as human as everybody else. No, I disagree. I'm if anything, I'm too honest.
Right.
I'm a hot mess. There's aspects of my life that are a hot mess. There's aspects of my life that are fabulous, and those interweave and interchange at times.
But you had to slow down and listen to
Yes.
long enough to lay that timeline out. Right?
And that's why I tell people not to beat themselves up about depression. We don't remain in depression. That's not healthy. But to feel depressed is sometimes our spirit's way of saying, shh.
Yes.
I was sitting at the McHenry Dam, sitting there thinking, do I jump in the water? Do I wait for spirit to, pray a truck hits me when I pull out of here? Like, I was done. I was absolutely done. I just tired, exhausted. I want to no more part of this anymore. I didn't see a purpose in it. I wasn't going to kill myself, but I was praying for a way for spirit to do it. You know what I mean? Like, it was just said, please, don't make it my fault. Because here's my problem with life church. My girlfriend said, would you ever kill yourself? I'm like, no. And she said, can I ask you why not? Not that she was encouraging me. She was interested, just for the record, how that sounds. Why not? Let's fix that. And I said, I have such a belief in life charts. And this life has been such a challenge. And I have such a belief in life charts that I'm afraid if I end it early, they'll send me back to do this all over again. And it's a true belief. Like, I really believe and fear that. So I'm like, no. But I pray and ask them every now and then, okay, I'm done. But no, and I truly do believe in that. Like, our life charts are the way that they are. And we need to complete certain things. And then if we don't, we'd have to repeat it. And I'm like, I don't want to do this one again. This is the life chart that starts the kindling. When I get back up there, we're not going to repeat this one. I don't feel like I'm the victim. I feel victimized sometimes. But I truly believe that in life we have to choose whether we're going to be the victim or the victor. And sometimes I'm the victim for a couple of days. That's what I call my depression. I'll let myself. I don't say put myself. I will allow myself to be depressed for a few days, because to me that's really my spirit's way of going. Because I usually hear them. Like, usually after a couple of days of just allowing myself to be sad, all of a sudden the inspiration will start kind of building after a couple of days. Okay, put on the big pennies. Let's go back out. Let's find this again. And I think that we should allow it. And that's my beef with the love and light perspective now. Not that I don't believe in love and light. But when people are sad or depressed, they don't think like that. Just smile and say happy things.
Write down what you're grateful for.
Yeah.
Everything.
I'm grateful for the minute you walk out the door. That would be on my list. I'm grateful for the minute you're done talking to me and saying that crap.
Right.
Again, to live in depression, people who are suffering with depression, please get help for that. That's a different thing than what I'm talking about. But allow people to be sad, and you'll hear your instincts. You'll hear your intuition. You'll hear spirit if you allow them in to do that. And that's basically what I wrote about, was all that came out of, it was a week-long thing. And I admitted in the book, I had caught myself, I had been given, my ear had swollen closed and I had been in an emergency room. And I had been given oxycodone. And I had a bunch of it left. And I found myself taking oxycodone that week, and I was no longer in physical pain, but it made me not think of what was going on. It made me go numb, and I didn't have any feelings at all. And then when I sat there at the dam, McHenry Dam is where I go sit sometimes, just stare at the water and the water moving and the whole thing. And I sat there, I realized, oh my God, what have you been doing? Like, yeah. And I realized that you're taking oxycodone, you of all people. Seriously, with what you do and what you know and what you've been through and what you've experienced, you of all people. And that's when I realized how addiction starts. It's not like people say, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to hang out this week. I'm going to do this crap. I think I'm going to get addicted. It's just not how it happens. It's not how it works.
Yeah.
I didn't think about, even with my knowledge, experience, and education on it, I had not one moment in that week thought about, holy crap, this is addictive. All I thought about is, I don't want to feel what I'm feeling right now. What I'm feeling right now is too much.
I'm in a different life. I was addicted to something, because with all the surgeries I've had, 2 days and then I'm done. You get through the initial pain and then I'm done taking it.
Do you have an addictive personality?
Probably, yeah. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, see, some of us know that. That's why I don't drink.
Well, yeah. So, I mean, alcoholism. We've got that gene. It runs in our family. So, do I have a drink now and then? Sure. But I know, and I tell myself, and I've told my kids, you have to be careful because it's there, and so
Be aware of it.
I'm very
Right.
aware of it. Yeah. So I don't. I mean, I do cocaine every day. I don't think I'll get it. No, I'm kidding.
He's joking for those of
Just
you.
not in the office. We'll have to send you to HR.
Yeah, that was a little bit of humor.
So, but you know that about yourself. And again,
Yeah.
that could be your spirit's way of protecting you to make you very aware of that, because you haven't had a situation where you had to battle the addiction. There's just something in you that knows that that's the way it is. And that's what drinking, why I don't drink. I had my party days in high school. I mean, I wasn't into it. Truthfully, by the time I became legal, I was bored of it. I had drank so much. I was bored of it. I think I've drank 3 or 4 times since I was 21. I'm 52. And I just don't, but it makes me sick. And I love this. They don't drink as much. No, that's not what I mean. There's something, even when I drink a little bit, it's like I ate a book of matches. Like my stomach burns and I get a headache, and I feel terrible. I don't see the need for it because doesn't make me feel good. And that's been happening for years, but it wasn't like that when I was younger. But something about me changed that doesn't allow that now. And a doctor said to me, he said, I believe, and this was years ago, and I wish I'd had any idea then, and I was clueless. He said, I believe that that's your subconscious mind's way of protecting you from alcoholism.
I'd like to share a little something here from one of the listeners, because you can't see this the way this is.
Yeah, I won't let it go.
Sandy Gibson says, Lisa is absolutely right. You have the right to be sad, but you also need to know you can change. Additionally, Sandy says that Lisa called me right after that happened and apologized to me because she received a new understanding of addiction. I've always appreciated her apology.
She is actually one of the people I called because I had a judgment. Since she brought that up, she's aware of it. She has had her own set of struggles in life. And I had a judgment about it. And I had a judgment for some other things. Not a judgment. Here's the thing about judgment. It's not a judgment like, oh my God, shame on you.
Right.
But it's an opinion, a very strong opinion, where even though you're understanding and you're kind and you're helpful, there's that part of you going, what the hell is the matter with you? And why'd you let it go this far? And that week showed me that truly at no point did I say, oh my God, this is addictive. I really shouldn't do it. I didn't want to feel the pain. My heart was broken. I didn't want to feel the pain that I was feeling. And that's all that mattered in that moment. And after that week, and again, the spirit guided. And I believe that week was even meant to be because it has given me a completely new understanding and perspective on it. Spirit guided, something made me sit there at the dam and be quiet for them to go. And I knew that getting into addiction and these types of recoveries were going to be now a part of my life, where I'd been raised with alcoholism. But I don't want to say I didn't care, but I wasn't going to go study it. I wasn't going to,
Right.
I just decided I'm not going to do it. And that was the end of it. But my life had changed so much, and now addictions and teens with struggles and all these things were going to become a part of my life. And I didn't think I'm up for it. Like I had this great marriage. In truth, I was a mom, I was a wife, I managed the animal hospital. We had about as normal as quote normal kind of could be. Who am I? What am I going to do to tell these people? And then I was just in tears. And literally they said, what do you mean you've been preparing this your whole life? And they showed the instances, even the date rape and things like that, because what do you think these teens are going to be related to? What do you think these teens need somebody to understand? The mistakes that I made, being open about the mistakes that I've made, the choices, just this whole thing. And all of a sudden I realized, holy crap. And as I allowed that to flow through, that's when the thing about the oxycodone came on. And I was like, oh, you're right. Like literally at no point did any part of me even, and I knew, I'm educated on this. At no point did it even cross my mind. And I thought, this is how addiction starts.
And that's what I dislike about people.
just people in general.
Well, everybody tries to label or do something or say it's okay to be depressed.
Yes.
It's okay to be happy. It's okay. You know what I'm saying? And people will say, "Man, you have an issue because you're depressed." It's a real thing, but it's something you have to go through and grow through. I think, right? It's the same thing with happiness.
And there are people that are chemically depressed, meaning that there's something going on in their system that they're not producing the chemical that they need to change it. And if you cannot pull yourself out of a depression, go get help. Absolutely, go get help for that. But if you're sad for a couple days, allow yourself.
Right, and I think and go to a wake. Go to a wake and
I avoid those things.
Well,
My dad, people are awake.
But what I'm saying is, if I was at one, and of course this is, and I'm with my daughters, and we like to just kind of make fun of people. That's so we do.
That's just your thing.
So we're in the big line waiting to go hug the family and whatever, and we're laughing. People are looking at us like, "What are you?" And I'm like, "It's really not a sad thing, Yeah, I'm not sad for the dead. We
the sadness is for the people here.
Right.
Exactly.
We feel bad for all of us because we're going to miss this person. And then my daughters are like, "Oh my gosh, Dad." I'm like, "No, just you have to be yourself. It's okay to laugh at these things because if you're celebrating life or whatever, life has to go on." And what I'd say is, hey, before this gentleman died, how often did you think of him? And they're like, "Well, only when we saw him." Okay.
Right. But society has taught us how to behave at a memorial. And we had this when I was talking about my husband. I had done I believe in the same thing. And so when somebody passes, yeah, I get a little bit sad, but it's a different kind of sad. So then people think I'm uncompassionate. And I'm like, no, I know where they get to go. It's us that this is left for, the sadness is left for. But I did this picture board of my husband and I's life. And right in the middle of it, and it was a little bit bigger, somebody had taken a picture of him. We were at it was a combined bachelorette party. There was a time when that was a combined thing. And it was in a bar. And my husband had nonchalantly turned around, and he didn't like getting this picture taken, and people knew it. And he saw the camera, and he flipped him the bird. And it's just the perfect kind of grin. It's just a great picture. You know what I mean? That shows the essence of his sense of humor. And because he wasn't mad, but it shows his humor. It shows his person. And I blew it up big, and I put it in the middle, and that's what we had at the service. And some people are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you put that picture up there." I'm like, that is the essence of him. Like, that's his sense of humor. He was laid back, but he had a great sense of humor. Like, that picture shows who he is beyond words. And then after the service, because he was cremated, that was his request, he was cremated, I took his urn to the bar with all his buddies from high school. So when I walked in, they all looked at me like, "Oh my God, she's totally lost her mind." And I looked at him and I said, "Where else would he rather be? Seriously, if we're going to look at it this way, where else would he rather be?" And I put his urn right in the middle of the bar. And people started toasting it and talking to him then. And I'm like, right. So he passed. We knew his sense of humor. He was a happy-go-lucky person, and people enjoyed him. Why would he want all this sadness and mourning now? Do you really think he's up there going, "Oh my God, how dare they cheer me? They're supposed to be mourning and throwing their bodies on the ground. Oh my God, they should be sobbing and weeping." No, that wasn't who he was. It wasn't the essence of him. But society tells us how we're supposed to behave. We did a whole show on that a few weeks ago. Yeah. Society, it's what talks us out of our instincts and intuitions. It's those kinds of things. It's like, I knew my husband would want to go hang out in that bar with his buddies from high school. Absolutely. I want to go. And, I went and did it. But what if I wouldn't have? What would be happening? I'd be kicking myself. Sure. Yeah. I wish I would have. I really didn't honor him once I got my confidence back, or, whatever. But I just knew this is what I need to do. And as a matter of fact, Julie, my friend in Colorado, I'm going to go there. She's so funny. She sees me put his urn in the car, and she goes, "Lisa, are you okay?" And I said, "I'm okay. We're going to the bar." And she looked at me, she goes, "Hey, all right." And she seat buckled his urn. She goes, "Safety first." And it became like that. And even when he passed away, I didn't want to do the whole phone calls.
Right.
So I did a Facebook invite for his service. Whatever, this is quick And my daughter posts on my page, Mom, you invited Dad to his own service. I think he's obligated. But my husband would have found that hysterical.
Right.
He would have found it absolutely hysterical.
Did he
Honor. No. He did. He showed.
Yeah, he should.
He showed because I got taken apart. We need to honor people, honor our truth, honor our instincts, honor who we are, follow those weird little things
Yeah, so
about us.
there's two big lessons that I remember. My dad's still alive too, but there's two. You know, they always say, what's something that you always remember as a kid that your dad said. One is, hey, it's your money if that's the way you want to spend it, right? And it's always just stuck with me. Anytime I go to spend money, it's like, hey, it's your money if that's the way you want to spend it. So I have to stop and go, is that the way that I want to spend it? The other is follow your gut. He says, if there is 1 ounce in your gut that says don't do it, and 99% that says do it, listen to the 1% that says don't do it.
Really?
Because your gut's never wrong. Your gut's never wrong.
That's interesting.
If it's 100% saying do it, do it.
It's interesting because I would argue your subconscious mind with that, but we only have 3 minutes left, or else I would argue your subconscious mind with that.
Let's open up that can.
Well, because your subconscious mind is 80% of your mind, your thinking. And that is a development from childhood, and that's the part that argues with you and tells you no. So I think there has to be a balance or a filter into what's actually telling you no. That's interesting. All right, that's a whole nother show.
That is.
Yeah.
But it hasn't been wrong from it either.
Okay, well then, hey, if
Right.
it works for you, then great.
Right? And if I have ignored that 1%, I don't know if it's 1%, that little, if I have ignored that little voice, and then usually you're like, oops, shouldn't have done that.
Lesson learned.
Lesson learned. Now, I don't know. That's what he has said. So, but I don't know the percentages in there. So I try to listen to my gut a lot. If my gut says, do it, I'll do it.
Follow it no matter what, even if it seems weird. That's why you have a fabulous radio show now.
Well, which one is that?
Which, by the way, I forgot to mention this because this is all unexpected. I put out on my Facebook page, and I advertise the show on there. 38,000 listeners. Thank you. Very excited about that. So my goal had been 30, and then when I hit 30, I went to 40, and I got 38. So that's close. So I'm putting out an offer there. Everybody share the show, advertise the show, share the show, listen to the show, tell all your friends about the show, watch the show in every way, shape, or form. Because once I hit 50,000 listeners, I am going to give away 3 free sessions.
Oh, wow.
That's awesome.
So just to put that out there.
Wow. And by the way, Gary Ong says good evening from Singapore.
Hey.
Hey,
So you're reaching Singapore right now.
yay!
Okay. And Sandy Gibson says she needs a filter on her subconscious.
That's another show.
Yeah.
Filtering your subconscious.
That's it.
Well, it's kind of true. It's what I do. It's what hypnotherapy is.
So, and now we've got about just 2 minutes left. So, Lisa, I know we've got your information scrolling across the video live stream, but for everybody listening on the radio, how do they reach you?
Lisa'sChangingPerceptions.com, Lisa'sChangingPerceptions@gmail.com. Lisa's Changing Perceptions is a Facebook name, and also 262-573-7055, where you can call or text.
Awesome. And then,
Or obviously through the station.
well, sure, 216thenet.com
Absolutely.
or 216thenet@gmail.com. You can go to the website and just complete the contact form and say, hey, I'd like to get in touch with Lisa, and we'll put you directly in touch with her. Or you can even say, hey, I've got a question for Lisa, and we'll take a look at that, share it with her, and maybe your question will get in on the next show she does.
Or if you would like to be a guest on the air with a story or an issue that you would like to discuss, please also contact either through the station or through myself and talk about that. And I think I'm going to start having more people on here to converse back and forth on different topics.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're not here locally, we can stream you in. All you need is a high-speed internet connection and a computer with a fast processor for the video. That's all you got to do. So, there you go. Well, here we are. We're wrapping it up. Thanks for joining
Thanks
for
for staying
another
with me today, bud.
Thanks.
episode of Lisa's Changing
Fun.
Perceptions and Leroy Johnson Permaphone. I don't remember your last name, but whatever it was. Thanks for joining, Lisa. Lisa, thanks for another fantastic show. We'll be back next week, Sunday at 9 a.m.